start just a couple minutes early. It's supposed to start at 4:15. It's 4:13 and a half. And so I want, we don't have our names in front of us today, so I would not mind going around the room in here and folks quickly introduce themselves as far as their names, just so you know who they are. And then I'll lay out the rules, the ground rules as far as the format for tonight and today and this afternoon. And then we'll go from there. So Patrick, if we could just start with you and we'll work our way around.
Sure, I'm Patrick Banker.
I'm Jeremy Reeves, City Council District 1.
Jerry Maloney, City Council at Large.
Kathy Worthington, City Council, District 2.
James Santilli.
Ryan Stevens, City Administrator.
Phil Lund, Mayor.
Victoria Duggar. Jennifer Lazars.
Kathy Elch, Building Official.
Hello. David Burley.
Okay, thank you so much. And just from a format standpoint, what I'm intending is I want to read a quick statement myself just to lay out the format for today. And none of us have mics either, so everyone needs to speak nice and loud. And then I would like to have citizens have the ability to speak. And I want to encourage anyone and everyone, whatever your perspective is, that you choose to come on up and speak and state your mind, because we're trying to make good decisions. And that takes all of us to be involved with that. So I don't care what your perspective is, that podium is for you. And so we'll get a chance to do that. But before that, I would like to just read a quick statement as far as how I see what's going on currently, and then we'll turn it over to you. And then following, when everybody's done talking, we'll turn it to the committee, and the committee can start discussion after we've heard everyone and their perspectives, and we get a chance to do that. We may make a decision today. We may not make a decision today. I'm not pushing that. Am I hopeful? Yes. But the important thing is that we get a chance to hear citizens. So if you don't mind, I'd like to just make a statement, and it's going to take me about 5 minutes to get through it, but I think it's important for us. And I've been hearing from lots of folks, so I just want to lay this out. So first of all, thank you for being here. And I mean that. This committee is populated with citizens who care enough about this city to give their time. That matters. And today is one of those days where the time you are giving actually means something. I want to start with a story. There's an old story about a group of people brought into a room with an elephant. Each one is asked to describe what they are experiencing. The person at the trunk says it looks long and flexible. The person at the leg, it's solid and sturdy. The person at the side says it's wide and flat. The person at the tail says it's thin and rough. Every single one of them is telling the truth, and no one of them has the whole picture. That is where we are at with Canyon City's building and permitting process right now. The electrical contractor has one experience. The plumber has another. The builder sees it differently than the developer. The investor who looked at this community and chose somewhere else has a perspective that none of us sitting in the room may have fully heard. The homeowner who just wanted to improve their property and ran into a wall has a story. And right now, today, there are people on the outside looking in at Canyon City, trying to decide whether to bring their business and their project or their investment here, and they are watching how we handle ourselves. Every single one of them is describing the same elephant. The committee's job is to see the whole thing. That is why we are here. Let me start with where we want to go, because I think it's important to name the destination before we walk or talk about how to get there. Canyon City is the county seat of Fremont County. That is not just a geographic fact. It means this city sets the tone for this region. What happens here in our permitting offices, in our council chambers, in the decisions we make about how easy or how hard it is to build and invest and do business sends a signal to everyone watching, to every contractor, every developer, every entrepreneur, every family that wants to put down roots here. The Canyon City we are working toward, and I believe this is within reach, is a place where business gets done, where someone with an idea and the courage to pursue it can actually move forward, where a property owner who wants to improve what they own does not spend months fighting the process, where builders and developers and investors look at this city and say, they want us here. Where city government understands that its job is not to be the gatekeeper standing between citizens and their goals. It is the job to be the partner and help them get there. That is the city we are building towards. We are not there yet. I think we all know that. But the decision in front of us today is one of the ways we get there. Now I want to say something about local control, because it will come up and it should. Local control matters. Home rule matters. The ability of this community to govern itself, to set its own standards, to make its own decisions, that is worth protecting. I believe that deeply. But here is what I want to be clear about. Local control is not meant to control the citizens of the city. It is meant to preserve control for them. The purpose of local authority is to give or to keep decision-making close to the people most affected by it, not to give government more power over those people. When local control becomes a tool that makes it harder for citizens to build, to invest, to improve their lives, it is turned into something it was never supposed to be. Real local control means the citizens of Canyon City have the power to shape their own community. It means their government is responsive to them. It means they do not have to fight their own city to get to a yes. That is the kind of local control worth defending. The people who need a voice in this conversation are in this room and in this community. Electrical contractors, plumbers, builders, developers, investors, the Royal Gorge Chamber of Commerce Alliance, which already was working regionally in the partners with Pueblo. Regional collaboration is not new to the city. It already is part of how we do business. The Fremont Economic Development Corporation, realtors who hear every day what people think about doing business here. Businesses already operating in the city, and the citizens, the people who live here, who pay taxes here, who want to see this place be everything it is capable of being. All of those voices describe a piece of the elephant. We need all of them. So here's what we are actually deciding today. This committee is being asked one question: whether to recommend to the full city council that Canyon City enter into formal negotiations with the Southern Colorado Building Department regarding a potential intergovernmental agreement for building department services. That is it. That is the question. And I want to be honest about what it is not, because I think clarity here matters. We are not deciding today about staffing. We are not deciding about codes. We are not deciding about fees or customer service or governance seats. Those are negotiation questions. If we move forward, those get worked out in the process. If there are unknowns right now, and there are, that is exactly what negotiations are designed to resolve. What I will tell you is this: if we proceed, the Southern Colorado Building Department terms will be laid out fully. And then city administration will have the opportunity to respond, to come to the table with their own proposal to meet or exceed those terms. The council will then have apples to apples comparison, both options in front of them. A real choice made on real information. That is how the process works. Now let me say something about the other side, and I'm almost done. A vote not to proceed is a legitimate vote. I'm not here to predetermine this outcome, but a vote not to proceed is also not a neutral vote. It is a statement that the current structure as it stands today is working well enough, that Canyon City's reputation as a place to build and do business is where it needs to be, that citizens and contractors and investors are being served the way they deserve to be served. If that is the vote, then this committee and this council and this community needs to be willing to sit with some honest questions. Is it working? Is Canyon City as prosperous as it should be? Are there things within city government right now that are standing between people and what they are trying to build? What does our reputation look like to someone on the outside making a decision about whether to come here? These are not easy questions, but they are the right ones, and they deserve honest answers no matter which way the vote goes today. I'll close with this. Every person in this room is here because they care about this city. They may describe the elephant differently. They may have different concerns and different priorities and see different pieces of the problem. That is not weakness. That is exactly what good deliberation looks like. What we owe Canyon City today is a serious conversation, an honest vote, and a clear recommendation to the council that they can act on. And let's give them that. Thank you so much for hearing that. And that's from the heart as far as how I view it. And I'm really wanting to hear from all of you. So there is no time limit. If you have something to say, that's what we're prepared to listen to you and to do. And I won't be using the gavel at all unless you go a half hour and everyone is rolling their eyes back there, then that will be a problem. And I will say at that point, but I'm wanting to hear from you. And I hope I don't embarrass you. Yes, I'm looking at you. I believe today is your birthday. So it's Beth's birthday, and I think if we could just do a real quick happy birthday, that would, don't do that. She doesn't want that. Give her a hand. We're glad you're here, Beth, and happy birthday. Who would like to be first?
My name's Kevin Camerla. I've been building in this county and city for about 30 years now. And I have nothing but positive things to say about the Kansas City Building Department. They're professional, they're efficient. And the biggest thing they do for me is help me through problems. When you're building, you're always going to run across some problems. And there's a lot of nuance in figuring out what's the best way to proceed. Kathy always has open hours. Sit down and talk with her. And we call in a permit request. They're quick and they get it done. I've been licensed in Pueblo too. I have an experience dealing with the Pueblo Regional Building Department. That's a whole nother ball of wax down there. Hard to get a hold of people. They're not going to walk you through the problems. They're not going to help you. They're going to hit you with a lot of reinspection fees. They're a dense bureaucracy. My hat's off to Kathy and the building department. They do a good job. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
My name is Mark Dewey. I'm a local roofer. I've been
Nice and loud.
roofing in this Fremont County for 14 years. I've been working construction here for about 35 years. And I have never had a problem with our city building department. Anytime, like Kevin said, anytime I ask for a permit, it's there. Anytime I ask for an inspection, it's there. As a roofer, we sometimes deal with insurance companies, but sometimes we don't get paid until the final inspection is done. Now, if I have to wait 2 or 3 weeks from public to get an inspection, that kills my bills. Okay, we can't sit there and wait for an inspection for 2 or 3 weeks and then send that file into the insurance company, wait another 2 or 3 weeks for them to send a check out. They send a check out to the homeowner, that's got to go to their mortgage company. That takes another 2 weeks to come back out. So now here I am sitting here 6 weeks later, but no payment. That doesn't happen now. Now I get my final inspection when I ask for it. I send in the invoice, I get paid within a week to 2 weeks. Never had a problem. I've been doing it for a long time. Anytime I've ever asked Kathy for anything, I've gotten it. Anytime I've asked Patrick for something, I've gotten it. Every day I send in my permit, Susan is on top of it. I get my permits by 4 o'clock in the afternoon, the same day, all the time. That will not happen with Bob. Will not.
Great.
You know, you want to abolish the Kansas City Building Department. Where are those people going to go? What are they going to do for jobs? You sit there on Facebook and you talk about the homeless problem. Okay, now all these people are going to lose their jobs. Maybe they're not all set to be.
So again, you're bringing up an issue and I want to deal with it. Staffing is part of the negotiations and staffing absolutely could be consumed into the Southern Colorado Building Department. So no one is sitting here and saying people are going to lose their jobs.
Okay,
So I want to be clear about that.
some of us contractors might.
Okay, thank you. Another one, please. Yes, sir.
Take me a second to get up there.
That's okay.
So my name's Andy Franklin, been a contractor for about 30 years. And I'm gonna look at this a little bit different. I don't know the council members. Was on the school board in Florence for like 18 years and I think it's important that you guys go out and get the facts. Have you talked to the local contractors? Have you talked to the other entities that were invited that you chose not to? And I would ask them why. Has anybody talked to the county or the city of Florence people? But any of the council people?
Yeah.
So you guys have gotten feedback and understand that. Okay, so I think that's really important. And I echo what the last 2 gentlemen said. I have no issues. The department's been great to work with, you know, Greg and then Kathy. You know, whatever the decision is, it's a joint decision and you guys are here for 4 years or whatever till you're voted in. And if you do a good job, then they like you and they vote you again. And if you don't, it changes. And so I would just say, make your decision for the right reason. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else?
Hello, I'm Woody Brady. I've been here my whole life, been building since 1984 on and off. But what I want to bring up is like building fees. Okay, and I have my recent one that I got here, the last one I just did in the county, the same building.
Nice and well, Bernie.
Yeah.
So we have the same fire impact fee in the county, $304, okay? Our license fee here is $431.54, okay? Our mechanical fees here, $190. Plan review, $651. Stormwater impact, almost $1,000, $986.61. A total of $6,285 before you even get to start turning dirt. And that's before you have to buy a water tap and a sewer tap, okay? And I know this lady was going through some particular things because they were gonna build back on this back in the 90s. And that was right before Barrett was being paid, okay? So she fought because their water line was already installed. Yeah, the bill wasn't being paid, well, whatever, you know, I know how all that works. And the same with sewer. It was tapped in before that. And, you know, so she struggled with that end of it, okay? And as part of the building department here, I think what we're gonna find out if you go to Pueblo Regional is the struggle, I think, is amongst the whole system. Okay? It's not against these two, okay? And I'm gonna give you an example on this house I'm doing right now. In my driveway, I'm supposed to put a 12-inch culvert, okay? Well, underground is already a line going underneath there, that's underneath the ground. So they put it on the plan, so that means I have to do it. Well, I can't even dig down 12 inches because the stormwater already has, or the water department or the ditch department already has a line here. You know, so where am I gonna send it to? There's nowhere to send it to. And so that's the issues that I have is where they don't come out to the site and say, okay, why am I gonna write in a culvert here on the driveway where there's no place to put it? Okay, those are those issues that I find that makes it very hard in here. And I don't think there's pointing one finger at everything. And I think there's just a lot of little issues that need to be tweaked. You know, it needs to be more of a cohesive development of the whole system. Because when you're going through the process, it's not that way. And that's the only problem I have. But with the building officials, I mean, like I said last time, Kathy has been awesome to work with. Patrick is incredibly awesome. So, and I'll leave this with you guys. If you guys want to check, this is an 1,850 square foot home through front of the garage. Okay? And I'll leave this because I got this copy. You guys can make copies and we can check with Pueblo Regional and find out what they're going to charge. Now, the only thing that you're going to find out that they're going to have problems with is they're going to have to go through sanitation district. It's not through the building department, okay? They're gonna have to go through the water department. That's not through the building department. Okay, you got engineering, that's not through the building department. Okay, so those are those issues that I see that if you go to Pueblo Regional or Southern, whatever, or if you go through that they're gonna run into those same issues that you know, the building department's getting blamed for. That is a lot of the issues that you have to go through. And so that's how I just see it on that end. So I think this thing's need to be tweaked, yeah. Does Canyon need to start working together? Yes. And does prices need to come down? I just think that's ridiculous because I'm building that same thing in the county, it's $1,800. So
Thank you. Please,
I'll
make
send
that way. I'd like to get it in this folder if I could. Thank you, Bernie. Next.
Hi, I'm Beth Ketchmar, and I know you guys all know that I own Pizza Menace, but we have a whole nother life besides Pizza Menace. We do a lot of building investments, we have a lot of properties, we've done that for almost 50 years now, Colby and I have been in business, and I think Bernie brings up a great plan. It's a related point. It's not the building officials here, we do need a more cohesive program, we need a better program where people can come in and do their development on a one source things. But I think the beauty of this community is that you can go down to Fremont Sanitation, you go down to the water department, you can go down over to the county, and you can go down to the building department, and you can say, hey, Kathy, you know, can you help me out with this? Hey, you know, Kathy Elliott over at Treasurer's Office, or the assessor's office, or the free sanitation. Because in our community, we take care of each other. And if you bring in another entity from a totally different community that we have no attachment to at all. They don't come into Pizza Manis to eat lunch like Kathy does. They don't order food like Patrick does. We all work together as a community. And if you bring a community, if you bring an association that's a for-profit association from Buffalo, they don't care. They're only gonna care about their bottom line. They're only gonna care about their fees and their permitting stuff. They're not gonna call you up like Kathy does and says, hey, Colby, did you know that I had a complaint from somebody? Could you take care of it? And Colby says, yes, Kathy, thank you so much for calling me up. They're not gonna do that. They're not gonna be that a part of our community. And so you say you want this community to be better. I think we need to work within our own community to make it better, not go out to an outside source in another community. And I'm sure as heck not gonna go over to Pueblo to pull my permits. I wanna run down here and pull my permits from Kathy. I wanna be able to talk to the people that I know in my community when I'm dealing with projects. Thank you.
Thank you. Ryan, does that include city attorneys who are in Denver? I'm just wondering. I think it might. Okay, next.
No, you're finished.
My name's Craig Gaddy. I've been a builder for 30-some years around here. I think I talked to you guys last time about this. I feel that if we're going out of town, there's a lot of things, inspections. I've had Patrick at a job 3 times this week that we're not gonna get. We're not gonna get the service that I get from him and from Kathy. And I told you, do I always agree with decisions? No, but it's not their decisions, it's the building code, you know? But I can sit down with them, I can talk to them, they'll tell me this is what you need to do. If I'm dealing with Pueblo, I'm not gonna get that same service. Just like Mark said, if I'm doing a roof, I'm not gonna get that same service. I just feel like the community that we have, I was dealing with Greg before Kathy, but I can always come to the office, I can sit down and I can get an answer to my problem and I can get it that day. I don't think we're gonna get that from down there. And I have a brother that's down there and he's like, it's not gonna be the same. He said, I was gonna tell you. I said, it's not gonna be the same. And I just think if there's issues, we sit down and deal with them here. Because I've said, Patrick's been bent over backwards and Kathy to help me. I'm on a commercial project right now where I'm struggling because I don't do commercial work. And they have been over backwards and helped me that every day I can keep going where I'm not waiting 2 or 3 days for somebody to come down here, charge me an inspection fee or whatever to deal with those. And they've been great for me. So like I said, I have nothing but praise for them.
Thank you.
I'm Bob Leck Construction. We've been building, my son and I here in about 28 years. We've done some jobs for the city. Most proud of restoring the Carnegie Library, was the highlight of my career. And as I get older, I've learned a few things. I'm supposed to get smarter, but that always hurts, and I hate change. But I don't understand why, the mayor spoke of this, we would want to give up power, control of our own town to somebody that doesn't care about us. And there's gonna be 3 things that happen. The service will go down, the efficiency will go down, and the cost will go up. That happens every time that a smaller entity is taken over by a larger one. That's just a fact. You can look it up. You can have that experience with companies around this town that have been bought out by larger companies. That's just what happens. We've got a great building department here. Everybody knows everybody else. It's hard to follow Beth because she said it all. We have a great department. We have great people. If we go to this combination with Pueblo, the way I understand it, there's going to be 9 board members. Is that correct?
That is correct.
5 from Pueblo, 3 from Canyon City, and 1 from Boone.
I'm not aware of
When
that number at
anything,
all.
I'm
I'm
sorry.
not aware of that number at all.
Okay, that's what I heard.
No, if it's not a.
It's a
Maybe
negotiation.
it's correct.
It's a negotiation.
Okay, if that were true, do you think Canyon City would ever get anything approved? That'd be impossible because the larger entity is going to bid, they're going to get their voice every single time. I say we keep it like it is. If we need to. If things need to be changed, we tried years ago to get a regional building department in Fremont County. I think everybody in Fremont County would be for that. We're all together in this. But to bring somebody in as a partner, that will never work.
So I want to make clear on that one that we have approached the county and the county has specifically said they're not interested in that conversation as far as regional partner. That would be first option. So soon. Others? Appreciate the perspectives. Question.
So let's promote B3 communities here in town. I agree with the notion of being autonomous. That's my primary motivation with my opinion.
Nice and loud.
And I think that the recommendation that I would encourage you to send to council would be to figure out a way to fund a more robust building department right here in Kansas City. We talk about outside partnerships. We don't like outside partnerships because we want to be able to walk in and have conversations. We want to be able to solve things across a table versus over Skype or Zoom or the dreadful email. That adds time, it adds expense. There's no relationship in that. But we already have tendrils of that in our building department that I would like for you to figure out a way to fund our way out of. I don't want to go to an outside source for plan review. I don't want my clients.
And that needs to be clarified because the people are going to think you're thinking Pueblo and you're not talking about Pueblo. You're talking about something.
Yeah, so currently, in commercial, because I do residential and commercial as a designer, we already send all of our plan, well, not all, but we send out plan review at the commercial level to Shum's Code, which is an outside entity, code review entity. Who's got people in all the disciplines. They've got engineers in every discipline, but in all different cities. And that's part of our process right now. So when you're developing the project and you turn in your application, it leaves our jurisdiction and it leaves our control. And I'm not a fan of that. So I want us to fund plan review. We also have, we've got local inspector, but we don't have inspections for plumbing. And we don't have inspectors for electrical. Those come from the state. Again, I would love it for us to be autonomous. I would love for us to have a way to fund a more robust building department here in Kansas City. Because we should be able to be a one-stop shop. We're beginning to have the intergovernmental agreements that allow us to talk to the fire department, that allow us to talk to the sanitation district, that allow us to talk to the outside entities that we don't have control over here at the city. They're entities unto themselves, but they're still a part of my process. I still have to go out and get all of my documents reviewed by all of these people. And it adds time and it adds expense. And I think for my clients, time is the biggest issue. Time is really the biggest issue. I would like to go in and be able to get information, have conversations, resolve matters face to face, one-on-one, and not on somebody's vacation schedule that lives in Arizona. So I want to figure out how we got the money, how we get the money to make ourselves more robust, to make ourselves more service friendly, to make ourselves more community oriented. Because we do have to be the shining example here in Fremont County. We are the seat. And we need to be the seat. So from my perspective, I advocate for my clients. And I go all over the place. I've been all over the United States designing things. So I go to multiple jurisdictions. I go to multiple building departments. I fall under different codes in every jurisdiction. And so I'm used to doing what I just described. I just don't think I want it for us. I think I want us to be autonomous. That's my opinion.
Thank you, Lester. Others?
Can I ask a clarifying question?
You may. Mhm.
Melanie Savarda, owner of Blue Knight Gutters. We work with darn near a lot of the contractors around the town, including outside contractors that come in. How was this originally brought up, or what was the original concern that would push us toward working with Buffalo?
Sure. I met with the Pueblo mayor, in December just to introduce myself. I've also met with Colorado Springs mayor as well, so it's something to do. And I found out that, the Southern Colorado Building Department had introduced, something, to the former council in November, and, it was in, executive session. And they were communicated that, this is from the Pueblo mayor, that, Canyon City wasn't interested. I asked them to send me that proposal. When I took office as mayor, I think for the first 2 to 3 weeks, I got phone calls every single day from people who were concerned about Canyon City's process and specifically the building department, as well as public works and the lateral stuff there. It was constant. And I was told by many that, Phil, the first thing you need to do is solve the building department issue. So what I was trying to do is bring that before the council. I introduced it. I brought it before here on the last committee meeting. We had them before us and made a presentation. This is simply a discussion. I don't have a dog in the hunt. What I am concerned about is Canyon City's reputation, which is terrible, with people coming in and doing business here from a investment standpoint. And I don't care how we solve it. Lester's comments, I'm totally behind that. If we can solve it internally and get control, and that includes the electrical and the plumbing, and I've talked to the contractors there. We've got a couple here. I'm hoping that they step up and talk tonight as far as how they view state review. I'm aware of Chums Coda, and anybody who's doing that is gonna pay a separate fee for that. So from an economic development standpoint, we as a community needs to talk about this, and I am for every opinion. Someone emailed me today that they're totally against this. I sent that out to the rest of the council members. I'm wanting us to have a good discussion about where we go. What I do believe is the status quo is not acceptable, and I would challenge individuals. I'm 66 years old. I'm at the end of my career, and everyone who has spoke from a building side, and I just challenge you, the least I heard was 28 years in there, and I'm concerned about the young people in Canyon City. What are they gonna do? Are they gonna have professional services that work for them, and we're able to create jobs? Was able to create opportunity? That is absolutely critical. And I'm thinking everyone who spoke from the building side, I'm 66, and every one of them in 10 years are not going to be in business. So what are we going to do to make sure that we're on a good trajectory? Somebody brought up homelessness. You can't deal with the homelessness if you don't have jobs and housing and providing those kind of things. So I'm for this discussion, and I don't even have a vote on the council. So it's going to be the council members that have the vote to go forward, even if we get to that. And the people that are sitting around here, the young people, the mayor got the privilege of appointing them. I'm very concerned that we have younger folks in the discussion. So that's how it got here, and I appreciate everyone being there. Kathy wants to speak as well.
Oh, I just wanted to say, I think one of my issues, those of you that are interested perhaps in having the Southern Colorado, I have heard for years also about the building department, I have never heard anything specific. I'm one of those who has always dealt in, until you actually have the real reasons or somebody willing to come up personally and say what the problems are, I consider that rumor and innuendo. And I really want, if there are issues, we need to hear specific issues, and I haven't heard one yet. And I'm not blaming anybody. I'm just saying that a rumor gets started, and what's easier to spread? It's a rumor. What's the hardest thing to overcome? A bad reputation. And of course, we want to solve that bad reputation.
Absolutely.
But we also have to go by what the specific experiences builders and contractors are experiencing. And so anything you have to be able to put meat on the issue would really be appreciated, just so that it gives us more direction on which way to go.
Well said, Kathy.
I'd kind of like to know if there's some kind of a business involved in the business that you keep talking about that want to come to Kansas City. I'd like to know who they are, what their businesses are, and what they plan on doing. Because we've never heard of any businesses wanting to come to Kansas, because there isn't any room for stuff. What are they gonna build? What are they gonna tear down next, build up next? What are these businesses that you're talking about that want to come to Canyon? They're looking at Canyon saying, oh, we don't want to come to this town. This is a bad town.
I'd like to actually address that. So some of my background is in the actual like nonprofit economic development, meaning there's a freestanding organization that facilitates economic development initiatives on behalf of the regional governments. So I've been doing that for years. One of the problems we have in that certain circumstance is some of these developers really operate under an NDA until they find out if they can get to the finish line. Now, that's
Non-disclosure agreement.
yeah, non-disclosure agreement. So it depends on, some of them are very open. Like I actually was Ryan's notes that include Rick's notes from his department. I do encourage you when you periodically in Ryan's report, he includes Rick's report. And buried in there, I've lived here a year and a half. I was surprised to actually discover a list of people who were looking at Canyon City, buried probably 60 pages into the report.
And the city administrator.
And the city administrator report. So it doesn't solve the problem, but it is a very complicated thing that especially the bigger the stakeholder, they may not be looking for a large property, but they might be looking for concessions from the state. So they're trying to negotiate at the state level to get here. There's so many weird factors that makes it really hard to say. But a lot of them are they don't want to get too much into the ring because they're trying to pull together so many things. So I want to just say, encourage you to look at his report to see what you can find in there that Rick published. But it's a problem we all wish we could solve in every city, in every economic development situation, because it gives a community hope too, that there is, is a position gonna come in that's really gonna create a lot of opportunity
So
for
if
people.
business wants to come to Kansas City, and let's say we don't change. They come here, they pull their permits, everything goes great with the current situation. If we change that, and then a new business wants to come to Kansas, now they got to look about that. Now they gotta pay that outrageous price. Right now, my permits, and I do some pretty big jobs, my permits are pretty low. I make up for it with my materials, but the permit cost is low. Okay, final inspections, I don't pay for that. I will with Bubble, I'll pay for every single inspection out of Bubble. Okay, so you get these new businesses that want to come to Canyon, they're gonna have the same problem now with the Bubble Regional for Southern Colorado that we're gonna have, that we didn't have.
So let me just challenge one thing, which is, we're not asking this committee to say we are going with Pueblo. What we're asking for is that we have a vote that says, let's get the information, and then we compare it, and the city administrator gets us to follow what Lester put out and say, okay, how can we meet this inside? And then the city council can make a decision regarding that. You brought up a key point, sir, and remind me your name.
Mark Dewey.
Okay, Mark. The key point is, what does Canyon City want to be? Do we want economic development? The economic development director is sitting right back there. And do we just lay him off because we're not interested in business coming? The FEDC executive director is sitting over there, Fremont Economic Development Corporation, which they had a huge annual group, and they want to see economic development. And he gave a very inspiring speech about we can do that for Canyon City. And I get emails all the time from young people who want jobs here and they can't get it. And somehow we've got to do that. And somebody made the point that the building department's not the only issue. Totally agree. There's a whole bunch of issues that we've got to deal with and we can knock those off. But Canyon City needs to decide, do we want to be a community that has not growth, but vitality? There's at least 15 stores, maybe more than that at this point, in the main street on downtown that have for sale signs or for rent signs. There's more on Royal Gorge Boulevard, and
Just the rent super high.
but it's all factored in together as far as how it gets there, and that's just my view. It's what I hope we can agree on is we're not where we need to be, and we need to take a serious look at different issues and address those. So you've had your hand up many times, and I want you to come on up and you can address us, whatever your perspective is. So.
Okay, just a clarification, which is tonight is just deciding if we find out more factual information.
Yep, that's all.
Because I hear a lot of hypotheticals, which is, that will make my permits more expensive, that will make this more expensive, that will change this, that will change that, and in reality, we don't actually know what will be happening until we know what will be happening during the negotiation.
So
And I think it would be a shame not to find out more information to make a more informed decision based on facts versus I think this is what will happen or this is what
I hope it doesn't happen.
Yeah, and it's all gonna be laid out. There won't be anything that's a secret, so it's exactly true.
I have another.
You know, I'm for keeping it local. I don't wanna go up.
Okay, stand up at
I'm
least,
for
David.
keeping it local. But, you know, we do have a reputation, because I call metal building buildings. Or project I'm trying to get out of the ground. And there's people I don't want to come. That's not BS. I mean, I could give you privately names, the building. But, what's the problem? I mean, it's straight engineering. Why these guys have the problems trying to put up a steel building?
Okay, thank you.
And it's taken me 4 months to get a site plan worked out with the tech, which is super frustrating. The retail experience here sucks. I'm sorry. I think we can do better. I think we have to address that. City Hall, aside from the building, everything, that we need to be more friendly.
Okay.
Kumbaya.
Thank you. Others?
What's the issue exactly that's causing 4 months, if anybody did? Does anybody know
We're just going back and forth. I don't know if you wanna hear all the drama. I'm not a big confrontation person.
So you asked if who's looked into it or anything. I went and met with the Pueblo County Building Department and I met with the Southern Colorado Bowl. I have friends in building. I've met with, you did my roof in my house. I've met with a lot of people and I've been digging into this since I was running. So long before I actually got elected. And I hear the same thing over and over again is problems, reputation, and I'm listening to all of it. Kathy asks what the problem is. And the problem that I'm filtering through is the process. That's said it, it's the process, and I think Lester's onto it, is that we need to look into what we can do in-house before we go looking outside. Because I live here and love here because it's local. I love it because we keep it together, because we can make all this work. There's questions of whether we can financially afford it or not, whether we can get all the extra inspections and do these kind of things. So I myself would like to see this committee continue to go forward, not necessarily pushing this forward to council right away, but actually addressing this issue and the process and looking into what exactly is the, like, we haven't, it's the process, fine, but what is that? I mean, we can't pursue
Negotiations.
we can't pursue results either. Like, where's our finish line? What is our actual finish line if we haven't identified our real problem?
What are your goals? What are your goals?
Yeah, exactly.
As a business, to run it as a business.
And part of it is that we're streamlining, do all this, and I'll tell you, as looking into it for probably 6 months at this point, talking to so many people, is that, it's a lot of anecdotes, and I don't want to diminish anybody by any means, but I hear a lot of anecdotes and a lot of one-off situations that cause a lot of the reputation that aren't necessarily the city. And it's easy to just blame the city. I was talking with the fire chief earlier today and the city gets blamed for things they do. And they're a completely different district that has nothing to do with us. They're their own government. They have all that. And so looking into all this, I really want to try to discover what our problem is in-house and try to fix it in-house before we go outside to anybody else. That's after months of looking into this and asking all the questions all of you guys are asking and talking to a lot of people. Bryce Stone.
I know there's a couple other people that were planning on speaking. I'd like to get them before we start repeating. If you're one of those people that had told me you were going to speak, if you want to step up and speak, that would be great. Tony?
I'm Tony Fontecchio with Johnny's Plumbing and Hydronics. Our business has been here since 1978. It's a little hard for me to be here because we actually don't deal with the city and the building department at all. So it's kind of tough for me, but we do work in a lot of different districts like Chaffee County, the building department in Salida. Pueblo Regional, we have for many, many years. Pikes Peak Regional, Colorado Springs. And of course here, which is the state of Colorado. So all the money that we spend as Johnny's Plumbing, I mean, we've sent hundreds of thousands of dollars to Denver, not to Canyon City, because all of our money is going to the state when we're in the Canyon City region doing our plumbing. The state plumbing department is probably the hardest that we've ever dealt with. It's much easier for the regional building departments. So we've always kind of wanted to do a regional building department here in Canyon City and Fremont County. So my concern is that we're talking about the city of Canyon City only with this possible change. Is that correct?
Yeah.
That's all we have purview.
Yes.
Yes.
So that, I mean, I guess my
There's more
concern
conversation, yes.
is in the world of plumbing and electrical, we're only solving a little bit of an issue. And we still have the same on outside of work that we're doing in the county. So I don't know if that's good nor bad.
Yeah, let me address, Rockville is choosing to go with Southern Colorado Building Department, and Debbie Bell and the mayor of Florence were at a recent meeting that I was at, and there was consideration there that they might take up and look at both plumbing as well as electrical
Okay,
and be part of the same regional effort, so.
okay. But as far as some of the fees, I took a 2,400 square foot house with 2 bathrooms. I'm talking a real basic home, and priced it for plumbing fees that we'd be paying for permits. In Salida, we'd be paying $325. Here in Canyon City, $652. Pueblo and Colorado Springs, we pay 0. Because the building department has those fees as part of their building permits.
Right.
So I mean, that's kind of a big difference as well. The efficiency that we get through and a lot of these builders here today will know this. It's terrible on a state plumbing inspections. When we call an inspection, we're allowed 72 hours to get our inspection processed. That equates to nowadays between 5 and 10 days. So I mean, we are waiting up to 10 days to get a plumbing inspection, which holds up residential homes and commercial projects all over. Pueblo Regional, as well as Pikes Peak and Salida. Salida, if you call before 4 p.m. today, your inspection on the plumbing will be the following day. That's 99% of the time. Pikes Peak, Colorado Springs, and Pueblo. If you call before 8:30 in the morning, it's done the same day, every time. So efficiency is important, and that saves a lot of time and money. So I think that's important as well. I mean, again, it's hard for me to be here because we don't actually deal with the building department at all. So the only time I see Kathy is maybe eating lunch or something.
But it would impact you, that's what we're looking at there. Go ahead.
Sure.
Refer to Pueblo Regional, when you talk about Pueblo, have you interacted with the Southern Colorado Building Department that serves the city of Pueblo, and since it's split from the bigger picture?
So since the change has happened, which you're referring to, I have not. That's why my brother is the one that's been dealing with him on that, and he's not currently here today, he's not staying. So I'm kind of jumping in to kind of help out, but so I don't know what he's been dealing with on that aspect. I don't know the changes and what's going to be different than it was Pueblo Regional versus what it's going to be today.
Which happened January 1st.
Right. So I don't know how to answer that, but.
Okay.
I would like to see what I would call a regional department through Fremont County and Canyon City all together under one roof. And we can all work together. I think what they're saying is it's nice to drive 3 blocks, walk into a building and sit face to face to people.
Could not agree more.
And get the answers that you need, and everybody in the building knows what each department is doing. Because on the plumbing side, again, on the state, on the building department, they have no idea what's going on with the plumbing side. The plumbing side has no idea what the building side is doing. So when we're doing commercial projects, Lester deals with this as well, we get blueprints that, you know, we're gonna go do the plumbing for, and we find out that our code won't even allow the way it's drawn up for ADA bathrooms and different layouts. Because it's coming from different areas and they don't know the codes, or I don't know what it is, but the translation's missed. And we have to tell somebody, you need to change framing dimensions or do something different, layouts and what have you, in order for us to do this. So, that's difficult to, deal with as well. And if that's all under one roof, that could be all discussed and taken care of internally. But I'm kind of on the fence with this whole thing. I'm just kind of, because we don't deal with any of these people anyways, so it's
Yeah,
it's
you
a
wouldn't
little
feel
hard
that
for
way.
us.
I personally would love to see Fremont County and Canyon City do a regional park. I know we've got people here that have dealt with that in the past and negotiated that in the past, so. If they want to address anything, that would be great. I wouldn't mind hearing from the FEDC because you have such a big role in this whole thing as well, so. Thank you, Tony. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Is that my cue?
That's your cue.
I've been trying to be quiet. These are my friends, these are my neighbors, and these are my friends, and these are my neighbors. And so, you know, I have a.
You gotta introduce yourself so everyone knows.
Rob
who you are.
Brown, Fremont Economic Development Corporation.
Yep.
I'm the most optimistic guy in Fremont County. Just ask me, I'll tell you. Okay? And that's a role I take a lot of pride in. And that means that the matter of fact that we're talking about this issue creates a social media buzz that makes my job harder. Okay, because just the fact that we're talking about it creates this information out there that says, well, is Kansas City harder to do business with? I don't know if it is or not, but now I'm concerned. And so in my view, I'd like to see this thing progress quickly and efficiently and meet the best needs of the community. So that's my perspective. I will say that FEDC a number of years ago, maybe a dozen years ago, put a button on our website that is what we call our rapid response team. And the reason we put that button on there is because we have a great deal of interaction with people who want to do business in Fremont County. And I'm sorry to hear that you don't realize the number of people that we're talking to, because there are hundreds of businesses that want to be here in Fremont County. Some of them don't, and some of them don't. But the fact of the matter is that there are a lot of people that want to have what we have here in Fremont County and Kansas City. But the rapid response button is for one specific purpose. That's so a potential user can push the button. It activates the FEDC team, and then we help them work through the process. Kathy knows that. She's seen me in here with people. Ryan knows that. See me in here with people. So that's what we do. Now, in a perfect world, your system would be so finely tuned that it wouldn't require a tour guide to get you through the process of entitlement or building permits or whatever the situation is. So in spite of the fact that I agree that we have a great community, and I think our building department is doing the best job that they can do with what they have available to them, I think we can do a better job. And so I think it's reasonable for us to look at all options to make sure that we're not missing something out there that could possibly add to our capability. Now, something else I noticed is that the majority of the people that spoke today, with a couple of minor exceptions, were doing residential projects, smaller projects. And the feedback that I get is from the people that are doing the larger projects. And the larger they are, the more complex they are, and the more problematic they sometimes become. And so if there's a call to action from my view, it's that we have some of these larger project clients that are saying, this is hard to get business done. It's slow, it's difficult, whatever those kinds of conversations are. And so I think that regardless of what this committee decides to do, I think improving the situations to be our continuous goal. And rapid continuous improvement, that's what every major corporation in the world does now, is they look at opportunities to fix things. But in that situation, they look at the people that are actually deeply embedded in the problem for the solutions. Because the people that are closest to it, people in this room, people including you guys, are the people that are closest to it, so they would have the best likelihood of being able to complete a solution, whether it's the Southern Colorado Building Department or whether it's something else. But make no mistake, there is a continuous dialogue that we have a challenge here in our community to deal with. And I think it's incumbent upon all of us to fix it. That's my thinking. I'm impressed to hear that you've taken the time to do the research. And I've done the research myself.
And, I went beyond just the Southern Colorado Building Department and I started looking at others. And guess what? Everybody has got negative reviews. So this is an area that nobody is exactly knocking it out of the park. Everybody's got negative reviews. And so don't take negative reviews personally, take them as an opportunity to improve the situation. But I would like to see the situation improved. And I think that would make our viability in terms of attracting new businesses that can create jobs for that next generation. And we think about growth, let me just say this. The growth means that school teacher, right? Growth means that first responder. Growth means that person working at the hospital or in the medical area. That's growth too, and those are the areas where we really struggle to bring those people in. And so that's why our building department is so important, because that is the place along the road where people have to go from not living here to living here. They gotta have a house, a place to live. So anyways, those are my thoughts. And, I think about people in, the war that we have going on today, and people rush into the streets and say, oh, thank goodness, and we're gonna be liberated and things are gonna be great. And then maybe they don't go that well the next day to get their head lopped off, right? That's where we are today, and I wanna make sure that I'm making this point strongly to city staff and people that I'm gonna have to work with after this day is over, that I still respect you. I still want those relationships that we worked years to build. This is not a personal attack on anybody in this room. So don't lop my head off into the project tomorrow, because I said you guys weren't perfect, but you aren't perfect yet. And that's an aspiration that we should all have. And that's what leadership is about. And Mayor Lund, I appreciate the fact that you're demonstrating leadership by trying to get this dialogue going. And I'm very impressed with the number of citizens that you have that have shown up here and talked about their passion. But let's fix the problem. The first thing you gotta do is acknowledge we have a problem. So let's agree that we have a problem and we can move forward. So,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any chance the chamber wants to show up and talk?
No, I will.
Gotta introduce yourself so everybody knows who you are.
Yeah, I'm Bob Stovall, chair of the Road Gorge Chamber Alliance. I'm gonna pass out the statement we made last time.
Great.
And I'm sitting here listening and couple of reasons, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. What's the problem? And as you're looking at this thing, I think there's two things. Part of the discussion, I think part of what I'm hearing is everybody's afraid of this foreign country coming in and running our building department. I think that's a concern. I think what we need to look at, obviously there are problems or we wouldn't be talking. Are those problems structural or are they operational? I think a structural problem is the fact that, and again, we're looking mostly at commercial. We're dealing with businesses and I have to kind of echo what Rob said, because I think we're pretty much in alignment. The structural problems are, as Lester pointed out, you gotta send building plans 800 miles away to somebody you can't sit down with and talk to about your building plans.
That's happening now.
Because, and I've done that, I mentioned the last time I did it on a very personal level, dealing with Pikes Peak Regional. I sat down with the approval authority and he said, you need to do it this way. Well, thank you. Like, I mean, it was a simple stair project from the front door. The inspector came out and said, you're supposed to have one post here, why do you have two? I said, well, because I discovered there's a concrete post right where I wanted to put the one post, so I had to put two posts in. He said, okay, that's good, let's modify your plans. We got that done. That's operational. Because we were able to work together. With this structural issue of having to send plans out of town and pay extra money to get them reviewed, that's a structural problem, and I think you could fix that. You know, it may take a little bit, it'll take a little bit of money to get the qualified people on staff. It may be contracting with somebody more accessible, if you will. It may not be a complete, let's hand it over to this regional department. But figure out whether the problem's operational or structural. The plumbing and electric inspections, I've dealt with those. That's structural, but it creates an operational problem. You know, how can we find local plumbing and electrical inspectors that can react more quickly for us? Do we hire them in-house? Do we coordinate with the county? Fremont County to maybe hire those people so that they can do them for both for all of the entities within Fremont County. I mean, that's I don't have a solution. I'm just throwing out some ideas to think about. So we've identified a problem or we wouldn't be here. Let's identify what the problem is or what the problems are. And let's identify specific ways to improve the process with each of those problems, because we're right on board with Rob and FEDC. We work together all the time. We sort of coordinate everything, and he's right. It's all about building homes for our teachers and public safety workers and our downtown folks. It's about taking those open buildings that you talked about, making it possible to fix them up and get them in. And I know a couple of buildings downtown where the owner has spent a lot of money to support his tenant. But identify what it is, take it a piece at a time, don't make it personal, and fix the structure if need be, and then make sure it's operationally effective. Because from a Chamber of Commerce standpoint, it's again back to the reputation and making our community business friendly. Making the perception of our community business friendly. And I know we can do it if we focus on what it is and what's the fix to the specific thing. So I can't really totally speak for the board. The board statement is the piece of paper I handed you. But I'm trying to just, based upon what I've heard today, say, how are we looking at this situation and what are we going to do about it?
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay.
Yeah, well, who doesn't want to follow Bob and Rob? So my name is Zach Reynolds. I grew up in Canyon City. My grandfather was a builder here, I think starting in the 60s. My dad built here starting in the 80s, and I kind of followed in their footsteps in the 2000s. And so I kind of grew up around building in Canyon City. And I'll do this, I'll lay this out a little bit to make it a little easier for everybody by just saying that being a builder is no more than being a professional problem solver. We are professional hoop jumpers. That's what I've always said, right, Tony? We just jump through hoops all the time, trying to do two things. One, actually physically build something, and two, represent our clients or our customers in the best manner possible. So there's times when we can do that by value engineering, by finding ways to build that are smarter and cheaper to save them money and give them something better. And there's different ways to do that. And some of the ways that we do that is by looking at the means and methods of construction. And so a lot of times when we're building things, there's more than one ways to do it. And guys like Lester prescribe ways that we can do it, but we say, hey, there's other ways we can do it, and we go back and forth with them, trying to find different ways to build things that might still work, still satisfy the code, and make everybody happier because it saves money, time, effort, the works. And so part of that process is dealing with building departments to try to figure out if something's gonna be acceptable or not. Now, the code is very specific, but the way it's interpreted is not. And so we talk about Canyon City and its reputation. And I think having been out of the building process for about 10 years now, I can't really speak to what's happening now. A lot of you guys have voiced great support, and I couldn't be happier to hear that because we need a building department that works for its people. And that's great to hear. But I know that in the past, there have been a lot of clients who have had concerns and a lot of other builders who have had experience with running into problems where when they were trying to build something, the code was to the letter of the law, whether it made sense or not. And that's a big issue when you're trying to build, because a lot of times that takes more time, you spend a lot more money, and there's no point to it. Like everybody knows there's no point to it, but that's what the book says, so we have to do it. Now, working in other communities, we saw how there was times where when we ran into that same issue, we would talk to the inspectors about it, or the building department plan review team, and they would say, you know what, in this case, that doesn't really make sense. Let's go ahead and figure out another way to deal with that. And maybe there would be some flexibility within the code to kind of, to do that, but they were actually actively looking for ways to help. And I know that there have been times where I've talked to builders here, where that hasn't been the case in Canyon City, and I think that's some of the source of the problem. Now, that you could say that's a personnel thing, but sometimes that's driven by policy as much, direction of policy. This is the way we want to be in our community with our building department and that kind of thing. I never had a problem with Kathy. We always work together really well to find ways to do things to meet the code and try to save time and money. But I know there are other contractors that I've spoken with and other clients who have said, I've had problems. And so that reputation is what we're dealing with, right? That's what we're working with. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't the case. And like Rob said, it's a problem that just by talking about it brings it all back up again. Now, my dad worked in the early 2000s on trying to establish a regional building department, and the city pulled out on that one. We tried again in the mid 2000s with a lot of contractor support, and it was a lot of effort to get it there. We were almost across the finish line, and the county pulled out. And it was a jobs issue, and I get that, but it was really disappointing to us. We wanted to see a better product for our community so that the process for the citizens gave them, better value, better timelines, because all that matters so much when you're trying to build. We're talking about big money in the end of the process, is what that all equates to. And it was disappointing that that didn't happen. And I understand the county doesn't want to play ball on this one again. Maybe they've just done it too many times and they said, we're not interested. But I think the fact that we're all here today is bringing up an issue that it's not perfect. We need something to be changed, to be better, so that people get more value for what they're trying to do, right? And whether it's structural or operational or whatever it is, I think that the fact that we're talking about it is a strong indicator. Letters from citizens, reputation from builders that we've all heard about. It's a strong enough issue that this council has a diligence to do to carry this forward, to at least enter negotiations with the regional, the Southern Colorado Building Department to find out what they could offer. Because again, there's a lot of perception of what might be happening and a lot of conjecture as to what might occur or come out of it, but we don't really know until we talk to them, right? And so if there's an opportunity to improve, that is the step forward to take. Now, the council might enter negotiations with them, learn a lot of things, learn how they could do things better, learn how what we're not doing well in the process of doing it, and then say, you know what, we think we've identified enough of these issues. We don't need to enter into a formal contract with them. We think we can handle this in-house. But I think you should at least have the conversations with them in negotiation to find out how things could be better so that we can improve our community. Because we all want to live here, we all want to thrive here, and we owe it to ourselves, we owe it to our citizens to find a better way to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Zach. Yes, sir. Dan.
Yeah, I can probably talk about it. I'm always got a different opinion on different stuff, so, my name's Dan Francis, I'm a citizen here.
Gotta go louder.
But I'm a citizen here, I'm a business owner and an investor. And it sounds like we're looking at Pueblo to be the overall persuader of what we're gonna do for permits and how we're gonna handle things. I don't know about anybody else in here, but I'm not overly impressed with Pueblo. And if these guys have been handling Pueblo and what they're doing, that's the last people I wanna look at. There's really nothing in Pueblo that I'm dying to see moving to Canyon City. We already got the tire shops and gas stations. So I care less what costs. But on top of that, I don't wanna bring up an investor to town and say, hey, look at our town. And now let's go drive to Pueblo so I can show them how they're gonna get that permit. I want to keep them in town. I mean, because I think that's important. Because as an investor, last thing I want to do is show them something else, especially if they're ready to spend money in this town. So I say we try to keep it here and do what we can, because I think we have a better chance of improving Canyon City than I'm so on as opposed to trying to bring Pueblo to Canyon City.
Plan review and.
Well, I got a question.
Yep.
Some of them joined us
Southern Colorado Regional Building Department?
They are part of that. They're right currently, there's Boone and Pueblo, and Rockvale is likely going to join. And so those are the three that are there. Rockville, of course, if you're not familiar, is in Fremont County. And again, I want to stress that the discussion today is not to join Pueblo, or excuse me, Southern Colorado Regional Department. What it is do we want to entertain conversations so we can get an apples to apples comparison with what it's going to be? I have no idea what the sentiment's going to be. And I want to stress again, just for my own personal sake, that this is about improving Canyon City. I don't care where we do it. I am totally good with, let's do it internally. But I do want results. I've been inundated with emails and texts and people talking online that something needs to be done. And one person, which I won't point to right at the moment, but had a conversation before we started this meeting. And he said that what percentage of challenges that people have does that cause action? Is it 20% of the people who have problems with the building department? Is that enough to have action? Is it 50%? And I would ask that about your issue, anybody, there's no one that I think would raise the hand that they don't have an issue with Canyon City government. All of us do. And if we're gonna deal with, let's say it's 20% that have an issue. We as elected officials have a responsibility to those individuals to check that out, or to Public Works, or stormwater. Which I've got yesterday on Sunday, went to a stormwater issue because somebody was having that. We have a responsibility to respond to citizens, and we have a responsibility to respond, whether it's 20%, 50%, 30%, whatever that number is, we do have a responsibility. And I have heard enough about the challenges that we have within City Hall that we have to do a response. And I agree with Jeremy and others here that let's dive into it. Let's figure this out as far as what needs to be done. I would like the apples to apples comparison. If we don't go there today, I'm gonna be fine with it. Let's figure it out internally, but let's do it. This thing has been, some of you might know, I've got a development background. This has been 5 or 6 years that this has been going on, and it needs to be addressed, and we can't be sitting on it any longer. So that's my view. Does anybody want to speak? And I want to turn it over to other members here on, yes, sir, come on up. Greetings, welcome.
Well, my name is Wendell Helton. I was raised in Canyon City, and I'll give you specifics about having problems when Greg Hutchinson was the building inspector. He considered a walkout basement a 2-story. So then we'd have to double sheetrock the garage ceiling. And we had to get the first layer inspected, and he had 48 hours to do that. Therefore, we couldn't put the second layer on. Right? A walkout basement is not a 2-story home, not at all. It says in the code book, ground level, right? Another prime example. I have a property on North 7th Street. I wanted to rehab it. It was built in 78. I had to get an asbestos test through the state, right? City kind of did not, just like, here you go, right? So I have to call the state, deal with the state to get the asbestos test, hire a private tester to come in, do the test. They ship the product to Denver, give me the results. And once that's passed, then I can turn it into the city. So then I do that. And then I give them a plan. This is what I'm gonna change on the interior. I ain't changing anything on the exterior structure. I'm gonna add a few windows here, non-bearing wall, yada, yada. And she goes, well, what kind of roof system is this? I said, it's an engineered truss. And she goes, you need to hire an engineer to verify that's an engineered truss. I said, you can't crawl up in the attic and take a picture of it with the stamp right on the truss? Shows it's an engineered truss? Nope, you gotta hire an engineer to verify that it's an engineered truss.
How long ago was this?
This was 2021, 2021, 2022. So my engineer, Gagliano out of Pueblo, absolutely refuses to do business in the city of Canyon City. So then I gotta hire a local guy, charges me $900 to go look in my attic. Oh yeah, that's an engineered truss. and fill out the paperwork so I can submit to the city to get a building permit. There's a prime example, right? Number two. A different perspective. I moved to Alaska and I built homes in Alaska for 18 years. Through the state, I was licensed. I could work anywhere in the state except Anchorage and Fairbanks. Because they had their own government inspections processes, right? Just like Canyon City, Fremont County, Florence, etc., right? So I get licensed in Anchorage and remodel McDonald's, gas stations, same way with Fairbanks. But I could go to Burrow, Alaska with my license and go build anything I want, commercial or residential. Residential in Alaska, we had to take 40 hours of cold climate building techniques. And then I had to take a ICC test through a private individual. And through Alaska, we had to have 10 continuing credit hours per year to renew our license. Plus, we had to have a bond. And I had to have a $2 million bond for residential, had to have a $5 million bond for commercial. Moving forward, I come back to take care of my dad in 2019. I come to the city of Canyon City with my private test results for the ICC back in 2003. I got certified through the ICC through structural, framing, insulation, vapor barrier, air sealing, drywall, duct design. I basically lack an engineer's degree in duct design for residential construction. I bring all that stuff in, my insurance. I'd like to get a residential building license in the city of Canyon City. I was told, this is all great, but we need to take the ICC test. I said, I already take it, here it is, right here, private. Took it. Yeah, well, that don't tell me enough. I said, well, don't you offer a test? No, you gotta register with the ICC and take the test. And it's like $350. Yeah, I can go to Fremont County, I take their 50-question test, I'm licensed. I go to Florence, just take the county test, yep, I'm licensed. Now, I have all that stuff. I'm not gonna spend $350 to go to Denver or Colorado Springs to take the test. I'm certified to be an inspector residential for all the rough-ins. I'm certified for the plumbing for the ICC, certified through mechanical, the ICC, City of Canyon City, but not accepted. So be it, right? $900, what it's for, I don't know. Different perspective. In Alaska, when I built in the Matsu Valley, when I built in Delta, Alaska, when I built in Valdez, Alaska, when I built in Glen Allen, Alaska, it's all private, all private. It was all turnkey. They did pre-planned takeoffs. They did my energy ratings. They do my blower door tests. They come and inspect from footings to roof, everything. And it was a flat $1,500. And it's through the municipalities, I pull a building permit for anywhere from $35 to $100. In the city of Wasilla, still privatized. City of Palmer, still privatized. City of Eagle River, some of it was privatized, some of it was through the municipality bank. Fairbanks, we go in there, remodel McDonald's, DeSoro gas stations. This is the killer part. That was light commercial. I had to be licensed through the city of Fairbanks, but they privatized all their inspections. Take your paperwork, all your plans, they do a plan review. Our contract says they gotta be done in 7 days. You gotta have a permit in 10 days. Done. County, here at Fremont County, I can get a plan usually 2 weeks, because I turn in all my stuff. City of Florence, 7 days. When I go do the 7th Street house, 4 weeks. So my deal is privatization is the way to go. And there's another caveat. I'm a trustee board of the city of Rockville. So I've heard the Southern Colorado building, right? And they have retired plumbers, they have retired electricians, they have retired HVAC guys, they got structural engineers, they got guys that have built homes that are retired. They pick out of the retired community for their staff. And so a plumbing inspection, Fontecchio talked about it. If I want a plumbing inspection on Monday, let's say this coming week, Monday, and today's Monday, I better call in my inspection today. And I will schedule my plumbers to do plumbing and be done by Friday. And next Monday, they don't show up. Electrical inspections for temporary power, for a temporary pole, for me to get power to it for Black Hills Energy. You have pole permit through the states, and the state comes, inspects the pole, turns their paperwork into Black Hills Energy. That sometimes takes 10 to 14 days. Time is money, and money is time. Privatization is is the only way to do it, right? When I worked in Alaska, everything was private. Everybody was certified. Everybody was retired or getting ready to retire that were building inspectors that had 30+ years of doing this. I don't know what goes on here. I mean, Wyatt Sanders at the county, he built stuff. He's flexible. Wendell, resolve this, we'll sign it up. Send me a picture, we'll sign it up. Right? It's easy. I do one project here, kind of a pain. I get calls all the time. Hey, you build me a house in Dawson Ranch? Nope, it's in the city limits, Kansas City, ain't done. You build me a house up here on North Fifth? Nope, can't do it. Not licensed in the city of Kansas City, nor do I want to be. So my idea is to privatize it. Speed, expedience. They're gonna be available. That's their job, that's what they're paid for. The stuff about Pueblo Regional, it's not a region. They are a privatized company. They work specifically for us, the contractor. We're paying them building permits. They're at our beck and call, whether it's a Zoom meeting or if they set up a temporary remote office here. They will be here for us, period.
Do you know what they charge for the permitting process?
So, the electrical is $210, the plumbing is $215. And they're gonna use the IRC permit schedule in the beginning of the book, right? So you go to an IRC book and it shows you how to charge for a building permit. And that's what they're gonna pay, that's what they're gonna charge you. Now, with the town of Rockville, they're also gonna, because we don't do a lot of building, right? They're going to also take our licensing fee, our general contract. So like me, as general contractor, I pay $100. And they're gonna make sure when I go to them, they're gonna make sure that I have my general liability and, vehicle liability insurance and all that stuff, right? And Rockville had a problem with a lot of guys coming in that didn't know a doghouse from human, right? So they were gonna check that to make sure, right? They're gonna make sure that everybody's insured, but they're gonna keep those licensing fees. Subcontractors in Rockville's $50. I have no idea what it is here.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Anybody else in the audience, which again, I want to stress again, thank you for coming. We need to hear from all perspectives to make good decisions.
So 2 things kind of stood out to me, everybody speaking.
Yep.
I
Can you stand at least and nice?
Oh, stand up. Sorry, everybody. I may be one of the youngest ones in the audience. So you mentioned, younger people learning and growing into this. I'm from Canyon, I graduated in 2007. Mr. Banker, Mike, was you younger than me?
Yeah.
But, so talking about these issues, the last time we approached Fremont County, which it sounds like they're doing some things good, but the city's not able to, for whatever reason. What was their last reason for bailing out? They just didn't have any interest. Yeah, Fremont County, not working with all of the cities in our, as a younger person speaking, I'd like to see a Fremont County organization way ahead of us farming out to Pueblo or Colorado Springs.
Yeah, also
So what was their reasoning in that?
Jeremy and Kathy, council members were at the meeting, and all we heard from Commissioner Bell was that Fremont County is not interested in that conversation.
No, that's not what they said.
What did they say?
They were not interested in working with Southern Colorado.
No, they said specifically they weren't interested in a regional.
Yeah, okay.
So
It was basically just a no, and we weren't given a real reason as to why that they had tried to do this in the past and they just weren't able to resolve it, so they just didn't want to go down that path.
I'm sorry, are you asking like within the last
Now, yeah.
couple months or the last time it was brought up several years ago?
2019.
Right.
Honestly, I'd like to hear both, because it sounds like the last time it was brought up, I was graduating high school.
Yeah.
So, my voice as far as Fremont County commissions and things would happen, I wouldn't have been, around at that point.
David,
So-
you have thoughts on that? David was
Yeah,
part of the
I can
negotiators.
speak to that. I was the head of a committee that tried to do the regional building department, and the first time, actually tried it, wholeheartedly, for 2 years, 2 different towns, my son had said. First time, John Haven said the city was out of it because they didn't want to lose control over what could happen in the building department. The second time, the county said they wanted to get out of it. And I heard from one of the commissioners personally, said the reason was they were afraid they'd lose too much money. Because they were making more money from the building permits than they spent the building part. But I did hear from another one said, no, that's not the reason. I can't remember what the other, do you remember?
It was personnel.
Yeah. We're afraid to lose the personnel. And said, so those are the reasons that happened, and no one ever, we never got the chance to address that and to say, well, here's what will happen, and we can keep the personnel around, but we do that. Now, the nice thing about a regional building department is you have a board, not the council, not the governor, not the commissioners, but a board runs the building department. And so if you have a problem with the building inspector and said, they've asked me to do this thing, it doesn't make sense, the building inspector can say, take it to the board. And then you go to the board, and the board all that's, and they're professionals, they're not all in the building industry, and so they could look at it and say, yeah, it makes sense, let's make that adjustment, roll with it.
And that creates accountability, right?
Yes.
You've got somebody representing the general population of the group.
Yes.
Or the computer. Yeah.
And I think it was a great idea. I had no idea why the county at this point said no, but I think they did a great solution. And then when we have problems, we go to not elected officials like this, but in the board. And the board, the way we had set up, the board would be chosen by the city would pick 2, the county would pick 2, Orange would pick 2, I think was the way it worked. And a couple of large or something like that. So represented everybody, they were in the building industry, so they kind of had an idea what it's going to be, what would go on. And they would be able to make more reasonable decisions, I think. I still think that'd be the way to go. I've worked with, from the regional building department at a house we built in Colorado City, they were great for it. And they made the inspections whenever we needed, but other people have different feet. I'm sure if you talk to the builders, they'll get the same thing. Oh, they're kidding. But, having said that, I still think reasonable would make a lot more sense, particularly for people in forums. Who were having trouble with one-time staffing the building department. If there's a way we could head that direction.
Dave, I think people don't understand how much time and effort Dave and a whole group of people put into this effort. We had meetings and meetings and meetings and meetings and meetings, lots of meetings. It wasn't just like, oh, well, here's this idea and let's just, we don't want to do it. it went on for months and we had lunch meetings and there sometimes there'd be like 50 people there. It was a concerted effort and it felt hard. It was really a shame.
Yeah,
It was a really, really good thing.
the only way it would work is if the county says,
Yeah.
that may work for us, let's hear the proposal. It's something we think will work, but we can make it, like, and the city does the same thing, and that work, but it was a lot of work to get to that point, and then say, yeah, no,
But a lot of changes on it. We have a whole different group of county commissioners.
Yep,
you know,
gonna have
so
another one.
How many would be in favor of approaching the county to have a regional building department?
Already have several times.
Okay,
And Wyatt Sanders says, because building and the personnel, right? Wyatt Sanders says, well, where are we gonna house it? We have to put it in a whole new building.
But you're housing it now, it's separated now.
Yeah,
You've been-
he says, he says, because we can't have it in the county building and we can't have it in the city building, so where do we put it?
okay,
Yeah, it's.
okay. Based on that, just very quick, we will approach them and, see what can happen. So I don't think, and does anybody have any problem with approaching the county? Seeing nobody, I'm seeing lots of heads no, so go ahead, sir, and introduce yourself.
Greenwood Homes. I've not been here for 30 years. Done lots of building already. First of all, I want to show some appreciation for caring about this. Being involved in construction and building process, there's always hoops to jump through. There's always ways to improve it. So the effort you're putting into, thank you for that.
Welcome.
I feel like it would be unwise not to continue to pursue this as the city council. I think Zach mentioned that some of the rest of them, all you're asking for is to weigh it out further, is what I'm understanding. So to stop now doesn't seem, everyone agrees that there should be work on this. That would be one way, probably would surface some ideas that we may be able to work on internally. Maybe SoCo is not the right answer. We do work with them. We have permits with them right now. We work in 6 different counties with 10 different jurisdictions. They all have their issues. So nobody's perfect. Kathy and Patrick, I have great appreciation for you guys. No problems with that. But I just want to say I trust you guys. Keep weighing it out. You've heard the community. I think you can make an informed decision because you care about what's happening here. We'd love to see a regional building department. I feel like that would be a better way to go. But at the end of the day, what we're looking for is a smoother process. So thank you. Thank you for working on that. And thank you guys for good to hear guys who've been here for a long time. Speaking of that, thank you for that.
I have a question. This question is for Brian and the council. Some of you just came on to the council, and a concern that I've had through this whole process is that we're hearing a lot of information about what we could change. But one of the things that I've learned when I moved into it, so I've lived here a year and a half, I lived in Gallup, New Mexico for about 8 years. And the thing that upsets people the most is when somebody comes in who's new and tries to change everything without the context, right? Because this is your home. This is something that you've, so many 30 years, whatever. I hope I'm here 30 years. We love it here, frankly. Has there been an opportunity for Ryan and Kathy, or just Ryan, to brief the council on the history of this department and the challenges they faced, the challenges they've overcome, and some of the things that they've identified? Because I feel like right now we keep talking about solutions that fall into, okay, to me, I'm sitting here going, there's 3 things going on. There's creation of rules and there's code, there's interpretation of code, and there's enforcement of code, right? And how that impacts each of you in your everyday businesses. But as a committee member, I'm at a wall because I don't know what's come before. I only hear where we're at now. And I think with you guys being, you're new to council, you've been here a minute, and
You've been here a minute.
only 60 seconds, okay? But has there been an opportunity? Because for me, the timeline of waiting to educate from both sides is a little problematic. Like, why can't we almost work in tandem and say, sure, we want to get information about SoCo BD, but also, what have we already done? What's working well now? What do you guys identify? Because every city goes through strategic planning. Everybody looks at themselves and has to put a mirror. And I feel like that hasn't been, we haven't seen that yet. I'm curious if there's an opportunity for that in this process as well.
So I want to address that. That's why I'm not necessarily pushing for the idea to go into negotiations with anything right now. I believe that there's steps that come before that.
Mhm.
And she's addressing some of those steps. What exactly is going wrong? Maybe hire a consultant to come through and actually look at our process versus somewhere else in their process. I'm not a huge fan of spending money, but potentially looking into where exactly our process is different versus somewhere else. And saying, are we really different or are we just, looking at specific issues? There was a few things that we went so far along that we was wanted to address a couple of your issues. The ICC thing is something I heard of that we're here right now to do the committee. That's why I want to do is work. This is what I think committees are for, is to do the work and then we send it to council. So addressing the ICC thing, I had heard that before. We talked about that when we were in Pueblo as well. Why are we imposing something that do we have to do that? I mean, that's a question. The board, we have a board that actually addresses some of our issues that no one takes it to that process. Just so you know, we have the process internally. No one takes it to that process. So there are some of these issues that I want to address before we get to that point of the council. Because, for instance, to what you had said about businesses that are missing and that aren't coming here that we don't hear about. We do hear some of the reasons behind the scenes as to why, and a lot of them are stupid. They're stupid things that we as the city council or we as the city do, like the curb and gutter thing. You build a business over on, or you change your use over on. You change your use over on East Main, and now you have to build a curb and a gutter, and you have to do all this stuff. That's a process. That's
months cost me a lot.
right. Yeah, and so these are things that are we really addressing those issues by just jumping up here, right? You had said this in our first meeting about this committee is, are we addressing issues where they really are? Some of those things, can we just get rid of some of that curb and gutter? Can we just change some of our own internal policies to where we don't do some of this stuff? Ryan and I have been talking about this, and so I would like to address those issues now before we get before we send anything to council. That's why I look at it in the way I do. Go ahead.
Right. I'll disagree because I think the point of this is to move things fast and get as much information as we can, as fast as we can. So if we don't move forward, and we just keep trying to address issues that we can or cannot fix, it's gonna take forever, right? So who's in charge of negotiations with Southern Colorado Building Department?
That would be up to the council to decide that.
We would be on, pick a team.
Okay, I didn't want to volunteer for that, but
You
if I
can-
have to, I have to.
Yep.
Zach's right. Why not put it all out there so that we have a blueprint to look at, so we can see exactly what they're gonna offer and how they do it and what they charge? And are we able to accomplish that? We can take it a step further and say, okay, let's go historically, how many water, electrical and plumbing inspections, what was the fees charged, how much money was that? What potentially could us as a city build in if we had that all internal, or did a regional with Fremont County? So we can't answer any of these questions unless we agree to have that conversation with Southern Colorado Building Department. And basically, I hope they're not listening, but they're just gonna give us the blueprint that we need to potentially not go with them. So that's my take on this whole thing.
I think that, if I may, I think that's a good point. I think at this point in the game, it doesn't hurt to have a conversation. We've obviously got a lot of issues here that need to be addressed, a lot of concerns, things of that nature. I think that this is a potential solution to address those issues, concerns, what have you. And I think that declining that would just mean we're just opposed to even learning what those terms would look like. So I'm always of the opinion it's always worth to have a conversation about, let's learn more, and we can always walk away. And if it's something's unfavorable or something like that, if we do get enough information that we can use to improve our internal processes, so much the better. So please.
No, go ahead.
Oh, that's my only point.
Okay. I would like Ryan to explain to all of us as to what the city and himself has tried to do as far as bringing in plan review person and things that way to let you know what we have been trying to do within the city.
Yeah, last year's budget, city council approved for a plan reviewer. We recruited for that plan review position to try and bring that in-house. We made an offer late in the year last year. Person ended up, deciding to stick with the organization that they were with. We've put that on hold considering this process that's going on. I don't want to hire somebody and then, their entire situation changes based off of the decision of this committee. So that's currently on hold. It is in the budget for 2026 to bring plan review in-house and going back out for recruiting that position and potentially looking for having a recruiter help us with that because these building department positions can be hard to fill. And then I think the other thing that I would say is you hear a lot of issues. Not all of those issues in the development process fall within the scope of just the building department. And I think it was 2 meetings ago, you very appropriately pointed out in the funnel that, it sounds like we're dealing with, we're trying to solve a problem down here, but there's issues up here.
Yeah.
And I think, going through some type of process optimization, program or having a consultant come in, look at the entire development program, which includes public works and planning and zoning and building, that's going to help identify where those issues are that need to be fixed.
I have a question to that. As far as looking at bringing in an in-house plan reviewer, does that include bringing electrical and plumbing scope in-house?
That was not,
Review and inspection.
yeah, that was not considered when we did the budget or when we did this last year. The goal was to bring in-house plan review and move away from the third-party plan review.
Okay.
And Kathy, you can correct me. I think our third-party plan reviewer, even though it's Schum's Coda, the individual that actually does the plan review, he's based in Pueblo, right?
Yes, he used to work for Pueblo Regional.
Got it. Okay. The reason I ask is there's a lot of pain points that have been brought up through this meeting, through last month's meeting, that through various points of address. I work in real estate development. Entitlements are inherently difficult. They're not easy anyway. If they're easy, it's actually kind of a concern. Part of that being, curb and gutter, wherever utilities tie in, building department is one. There's various entities. But I think by having a known pain point, there are various other entities that bring pain points as part of the process. But having a known pain point that we may be able to address by continuing due diligence with this committee, ultimately with city council, to provide the best possible solution in one piece of that process. I think is, again, just as a reminder, what we're trying to do is gather information. And it seems like that's kind of been a common theme throughout the night. And so I think, an informed decision is what this committee and what council owe everybody sitting in this room. And I think without that, inaction is going to cause stagnation where we're at.
So play that out just a little more, just so we completely understand. So are you suggesting looking at it further, or are you suggesting no, or?
We explore. It's due diligence. What we're proposing is continued due diligence. We need to continue to explore so that we can make the best informed decision possible.
Okay.
Not based off of assumption.
Okay.
I want to be clear.
Gentlemen, do you have thoughts?
I want to say something real quick. It's not that I'm saying we should just shut them out and kick rocks. It's not that. It's just that we have a committee here that Bill's goal was to bring in the citizen. We're listening to all of you, and I think that if we push this ahead too soon, we haven't really let the committee do its job. And that's where I'm not saying no to them, but I think the next step isn't just to go into negotiations, but to really hear out our city, see our process, and really understand that main problem. So it's not kick rocks.
Time though.
Yeah.
why can't both things be true at the same time? Because the whole point of this process, and while I don't necessarily agree with the rabble rousing online, sorry. But I feel like we can push it forward to the council, which is not what my intent was coming in today. I did not think that was the direction I wanted to go. But I think we can push it forward to council, let them, and I don't like the word negotiation because it implies we're gonna be doing something. But we can open up the conversation with them, hear what they have to say. You know, I opened up a ticket with Pueblo the other day to get the IGA for Pueblo, as we had discussed, so we can find out what their agreement is with them, with the city of Pueblo and with the Pueblo Building or
Southern Colorado.
whatever their name is, exactly. So long, we're just gonna call them the authority.
SoCo.
SoCo, there we go. So we'll have more information too prior to our next meeting as well. So even before they, enter formal negotiations with them. So we still have time to gather more data and more information while they can start their formal negotiations. But, we've already brought up something very interesting tonight too, that wasn't even on the table when we arrived today, which is the whole
Regional.
thank you. I mean, that sounds even more amazing than the authority. Which I think everybody would be on board with again, and I mean, that sounds way better than anything else. And the other thing I think we thought that we can talk about too is that you can piecemeal stuff with the authority. We might be able to talk to them about just getting state inspectors to come here, and that might be the only thing we get from them.
Yep.
And that might be just the one thing we look for from them. And we won't know that till we start talking to them. And that could be something that we need from the county, but still keep everything in-house, because I like that a lot too. I don't want them coming and getting in all of our business. I think it should be here, and it should be local, and it should be our people and doing our thing. But anyway. But I think we should push it to council. I think we need to move forward. We can't keep spinning our wheels and not making traction, while we can still keep doing our research and still keep doing our due diligence. But we all have real jobs, and we all have real lives outside of this. You spend 6 months doing all this, and there's a lot of other things the Economic Development Committee needs to look at, not just this. And I'm ready to start looking at some other things too. So let's start looking at some other things. I mean, that's just my 2 cents. All right, Jen, come on, get in there.
As a member of council, Ryan, can we, as just a committee, look into the possibilities of talking to SoCo about, I like the piecemeal piece.
Yeah.
I'm even thinking, plan review, if we could get those, to me, those are the 3 issues that I think are time issues and possibly dollar issues for people. Is that something that we as a committee can at least go forward with, to talk to them about the opportunity of that? Or do we need to have a full council meeting to?
I think it depends on the terminology you're using. If you're talking about negotiating, then
No.
probably not.
No,
But if
I'm
you're-
saying,
If you're talking about doing more due diligence and gathering more information so you can provide an informed decision to city council, absolutely.
okay, I think I would say that might be the next status, and that doesn't mean, to me, from my past life, I still have connections in towns like Alamosa and Salida and so forth to say, how is your building department doing? And what do you hear from your community members? They're smaller than we are here in Canyon, but do they have the inspectors, or are they relying on state? Or are they relying on outside plan review and stuff that way? That gives us a little bit more information to be able to at least give us more information. So I don't know.
There is one thing regarding plumbing and electrical and moving off of state inspection. There is some type of year cooling off period from the state. So they would continue to do the work for about a year, I believe.
Yeah, I just want to make a couple of comments. The Shums Code piece of this, the third party reviewer, plan review. I'm disappointed that we're we're not capturing that revenue. My clients still have to pay that, but it's not going to the city. So, and it's a good chunk of money. It's gonna provide somebody a salary. And we're not capturing that.
Yeah.
And we're not capturing plumbing, and we're not capturing electrical, because that's going to the state. So we're losing revenue, potential revenue. So I'm disappointed in that. The other thing I'd like to say about Shamscota, because I've now, I mean, I'm a 30-year person too, just not here, okay? So I've been practicing architecture for 33 years, 10 of them here. And I've had to interact with Shamscota the whole time I've been here. And I couldn't find, through a records request, either an ordinance or a policy that required me or my clients to use Shamscota. It's in our process. It's in our development process that you can go upstairs and find in the lobby. But there's nothing that forces me to use them that I can find. If I can find another third party, if it's about having third party review, because I can't do it here, then can I choose my third party reviewer? Why does it have to be Shamscota? And if it doesn't have to be Shamscota, why isn't it here? If we're under no contractual obligation as the city of Canyon City to provide these people with income, why are we doing it? That's a structural question. So.
We do have a professional agreement.
Do we have one now?
Yes.
Because when I
Since
inquired,
24.
when I inquired, we did not. And maybe you have one now because I inquired. And to Jeremy's point, and I'd like to support Ryan's last comment. And that is, and you got it already, but I'm just gonna say it out loud one more time. Building department is just one single segment. There's context here, and it is process. And when you talk about developing property, we haven't even gotten to the building department. We're trying to, when we're talking about curb and gutter, zero to do with the building department. I haven't even talked to the building department. I'm in the process way up here someplace.
And there's businesses that have left town because of that.
There are roadblocks because the process gets to a point and can't move forward. And so a comprehensive look at our development timeline. From the day I walk in to the city hall, to the time I'm completed with the project, we just need to review. And they're not giant things, but they're frustrating things. They're frustrating for the people trying to do them. And it's my job to get through that because I speak the language. And when you talk about ICC, the last thing I'd like to say is that's the International Code Council. When I started practicing architecture, the region of the country you lived in was the book you followed. So there's the Uniform Building Code and the Southern Building Codes. There were codes all over the place. And it was the ICC that pulled everything together so that I can go into a jurisdiction and understand from having the licenses. Where's the ICC guy? Way over there. You can have an ICC license someplace. It is the same ICC license in another jurisdiction.
Yes.
It is the exact same.
It should be. We should.
And those body of codes are actually dictated partially by the insurance industry. Because if you want insurance on your home or on your business, and you go into a jurisdiction that subscribes to and has adopted the ICC, then they're gonna give you insurance because it's a body of code language that is universal for the United States. You might have a different year that you're adopted, but it's the body that stays the same. So I support the ICC. And I think I am only one person behind Kathy with the amount of code books I have. Okay, she still has more than that, but it's not 5 minutes. And I have more additions, but.
That's what the
Well, to wrap this up, because I know we've all been going at it.
But Ryan was to me.
Is that okay?
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Lester, just to your point, yes, there's the process issue, but then there's also the policy issue. So, you know, some of these things where curb and gutter is, I mean, those are policies that previous councils have approved, and staff is abiding by what those previous councils have approved. So, you know, I want to make sure that we're separating those different issues where, you know, those are long-term policy discussions where, you know, there needs to be discussion amongst city council about what's the highest and best use for that property and how does that relate back to the requirements that are tied to it.
I would agree, but the administration of that policy is spotty at best, and it is certainly not comprehensive. So that would be my counter argument to that, would be that if I have a single individual property that adjoins East Main Street, which has no strategic plan for completion, then that's where it becomes problematic.
Yep, and I agree with you.
Before I put you on, Bob, can I just throw out one thing, which is, I want to kind of wrap it up, but, what I'm suggesting is, based on where Kathy's at, et cetera, that we have 4 people that would be part of, not a negotiating committee, but to find out more information committee. And Jerry, you're interested. Patrick, are you available, just because I know you're on the road and everything, but do you have a background that would be useful?
Yeah.
Okay, Jennifer, are you available?
Sure.
Okay, and I would like to be part of that as well, because I have a relationship with them. And so we would have 4 people that would be part of a find out more information. We have an April 6th meeting coming up, and we would have a report hopefully back by then of the more information that's specifically with Southern Colorado Building Department. As regarding the county, I would like to reach out to them and find out if they have an interest. I'll do a letter to them based on representing the city, that the city is interested in, again, requesting that we look at something from a regional standpoint. And Victoria, we will deal with other issues on April 6th. USDA is going to be here, including the state director, and to talk about what the USDA can do, and they want to do something in Canyon City, is my understanding. I met with the state director a while back.
Can I say something quick?
Sure.
I appreciate all of you coming here and doing this. One of the things, though, that I want to ask everybody in this community to consider is 2 things. First and foremost, as you run into challenges, please be as specific as you can with the people that represent you. One of the things that's made this really hard as a committee member is overgeneralization, because we want to represent people who maybe don't feel comfortable coming up in front of the group. But sometimes what happens then is things get lost in translation. So I really thank you guys for coming in here and speaking on your own behalf today, and your peers, because it can very easily become a game of telephone and get a little bit out of control as to what really is the problem, what isn't the problem. So thank you, and be specific. The second thing is, please take the opportunity to share with your peers what's going on here. Take advantage of social media, take advantage of whatever it is. One of the things that we talked about in the very first meeting of this committee is the public, you know, the issue with our the perception of our community, and also the ability to change that, which is education. And that's telling other people. And you guys, by taking the time to be in this room today, are the greatest asset in continuing to pass the word along that this is a community that's interested in working together, and they're interested in changing things and figuring out what better means. I have a family member in the hospital, and the doctor said, you have to decide what better really means before you can actually become better. And I think that that's a really important part of this discussion. So thank you guys. Spread the word.
Better is different than yours.
Me too. David?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I made a living off of contractors and developers as a banker. And I love contractors because they do such a good job in our community. They love our building department, residential builders. And I think they've done, my builder that built my home 3 years ago, just loves them. And so I applaud them for building that relationship with residential builders. On the fact that some of us don't feel like, when Rob said it's harder to do business in Canyon City, I believe it for the larger projects. It's difficult to do, and I deal with a lot of developers too. And to make that difficult for them and threatening to leave or never coming in, that's a problem. And I think we have to address that as a committee, as we make our decisions. I like what James said, let's weigh the issues, see if there's a better solution or a solution that can help our current situation. So, I appreciate, the opportunity to be here and hear all of your comments as well, especially from the younger.
Paul, you have anything? You're good?
Things I have to say is, thanks everybody for coming in and voicing their opinion. I've been in town for only going on 15 months now, so I do have a little bit of an outside perspective on a lot of things. It is great that everybody that had how much they like working with the building committee and they like how things are and stuff like that. But a lot of the things that also that we're bringing up that are issues. Why is it being kicked down the road so many years without different things being addressed? I don't know why. But if something is an issue, why kick it down the street? Figure out what we gotta do, straighten it out, make it a level playing field for everybody. Everybody's talked about, oh, this is great, that's great, and everything else. But from my perspective, when I talk to people that are in a community or businesses that are here, or how people feel about Canyon City as a whole, looking on the outside. Scales ain't 50-50. Why is it? Why do people on the outside feel that the scale's tilted against them compared to people who are here? That's also a goal that I think that we need to accomplish here, that if you're in town, you've been here for years, you're starting anew, you're an outside development, everybody should be able to feel that they're on the same playing field. And from what I hear, what I see, what everybody's made the responses here tonight, we're not at that point. Everybody should be able to get the same type of service. Somebody's been here 30, 40 years or whatever, you know the ins and outs, you know the people in the town and stuff like that. Or do people on the outside have the same as what a lot of the people that are been working here for a lot of years? It's a disadvantage for them. Certain things I think in the town do need to change. I don't want to see this town to die out because it's the good old boy thing, or this is the way we've been doing this for the last 25 years. Things evolve, things change. We need to somewhat change with times to try to please a bigger group of people compared to just a possible few. And that's how I look at things so far. It can be done. Things that haven't been done for years. Why? Why hasn't it been done? What do we need to do to change that? And that's taken all people's personalities out of it and stuff like that. Number one goal, what is the best thing for the town? And what is going to move the town forward? Period. That's all I got to say.
Bob, and then I'm gonna wrap it up.
Just one quick thought, Bill, is that, Rob brought up a point that, about his, what do you call your button, Rob?
Rapid response team.
Rapid response. I worked for the city of Colorado Springs. It was going through a bunch of this. They came up with a rapid response team within City Hall. They took the development process from 6 months to a year down to 6 weeks. Just because somebody who did it every day and who worked in the system knew how to negotiate through, and they didn't change processes so much. They guided people through the processes, and that's something that can be done fairly quickly.
I want to again thank you, and I'm very much, and I think everyone agrees, we want to hear from you, and we're trying to make the best decision possible, and that takes all the voices. It also makes it more difficult because we have to get back to that elephant again. People who feel the tail and people who feel the side and the people who feel the trunk. We're all looking at it from different perspectives. And I would encourage all of us to get a holistic view as far as where we want to go with Canyon City and what we can do to make Canyon City better. And that's the goal. So I'm not advocating we go there or county or anything else. I'm advocating Canyon City is a better place and talking about what better looks like. I get it. Heard you loud and clear. So I want to thank you for coming. What's gonna happen is, there's 4 people that are gonna meet with Southern Colorado Building Authority, Department and talk to them about, information. We're gonna bring that back on April the 6th. I'm gonna reach out to the county and push them to say, why can't we again look at the Regional Building Department, which would be our first option? And on April 6th, we're gonna meet here at 4 o'clock. And the USDA State Director is going to be here along with her staff and talking about some other issues on the economic development front. So that's the conclusion of the meeting, and I thank you for coming.